Good morning, good morning to you. You. Good morning to you. Good good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. And many more. Good morning, and welcome to Daring Dialogues. I'm your host today, Shantae Charles, and it is Wednesday, Winsday. It's season 15 of Daring Dialogues, and believe it or not, we have been doing this since 2016. June will actually be, wow, 9 years of doing this, reading aloud and enjoying commentary, learning about books and everything else. Um, Pastor Ben, I have sent you your connecting link for when it's time. It's in your email. Um, so you should have that. Let's start with daily motivations for African American success. It ain't over till it's over. That's the topic. Lionel Hampton, jazz musician, said this: I look forward to every new day. I want to keep going and playing music and doing what I feel is important. By the mid 1950s, psychologists had erroneously theorized that man's mental powers reached their peak at age 25 and then began a gradual decline. Such nonsense as "you can't teach an old dog new tricks" still persists, despite the fact that current research has shown that our learning ability never declines. Many people needlessly go downhill after retirement. They feel their productive years are completed and their job is done. Consequently, they become bored, inactive, mentally and physically atrophied, and often suffer a loss of self esteem. Some develop a self image of a useless, worthless, worn out hangers on. As a result, their hopes are dashed and their prospects for the future are bleak. It is not retiring from a job that dims the prospects of these individuals. It is retiring from life. It is the feeling of uselessness, of being washed up, the dampening of self esteem, courage, and self confidence, which are present attitudes of society sometimes help to encourage. People grow old only by deserting their ideals and their ideas. Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up interest wrinkles your soul. You are as young as your faith, as old as your doubt, as young as your self confidence, as old as your fear, as young as your hope, as old as your despair. So don't despair. So long as it receives messages of beauty, hope, cheer, and courage, you are young. I love that. The affirmation here says, the mind knows not time. As long as I continue to transform my thoughts, I am forever young. That reminds me of that song, Forever Young. Can't remember who sang it, but I remember it. All right. The other book I want to look at today, this is a book I wanted to get into yesterday, but because of that conversation, we did not make it there. It is called Meditations for Black Women. And let's see what the meditation is for today. Again, happy Women's History Month to those of you who are coming in. And if you are a woman, I hope you are making some history for yourself and for your family, for your legacy. Today's meditation, learn to trust yourself. You can't be hesitant about who you are. Viola Davis, actor and producer. The meditation, I trust that I can handle what comes my way. Hard truth. Lacking self trust usually means you might have a poor self image. Let's talk about it. First off, your self image is how you see, think, and feel about yourself. There's no doubt that learning to trust yourself is a hard journey to navigate. However, as a Black woman, it is something you absolutely have to practice. Having self trust will help you through the hardest moments in your life, especially as the surrounding society tries to dehumanize you by pushing negative stereotypes and limited beliefs onto you, asking you to abandon your true self and relinquish your self agency. For example, perhaps you have been or currently are in relationships, either romantic, platonic, or work, where the other individuals do not make you feel safe to fully show up as yourself. Let's be real. The world doesn't really make folks with melanin feel safe anywhere, but I digress. Hiding parts of who you are or conceding to the emotional or physical needs of others, ahem, people pleasing, is not good for your well being. You develop the habit of ignoring your needs and wants to the point of emotional numbness and loss of self understanding. Knowing who you are is your greatest power, and that intimidates people who want you to think less of yourself. To get better at trusting yourself, you must first have self compassion because this is learned thinking and behavior that will not change overnight. Next, get to know yourself by honoring your intuition and your voice. Check out the Trust Your Meditation guidance for honoring your intuition and voice. Let these be the guiding light in your decision making. When you stand tall in your convictions, you increase your self confidence. Lastly, give yourself permission to believe that you can handle any tough emotion or situation that comes your way in the future. So, what can you do to take action today? Brainstorm some ways that you can show yourself compassion as you work on trusting yourself more. The interesting thing about this is the very first book that I wrote, the very first novel that I wrote, um, entitled Church Love, Love Worthy of a Second Chance, was based around that idea of self trust and learning to trust yourself again. The main character didn't feel like she could trust herself to choose wisely when it came to a significant other. And so a lot of the story is around that idea of learning how to trust yourself, leaning into your spiritual power, your spiritual self, being confident in who you are, and going for it when it comes to that person that you really are interested in and care about. So, because that was the premise of the book, a lot of people connected with the character, the main character, Savannah, in terms of not feeling sure about oneself. So that was the premise of the novel, and the premise of the story, and it grew from there into a book series called Church Love. So if you want to know more about my writing side, fiction writing side, you can check out that series. It is actually turning, it's actually turning 25 this year. 25 this year. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that. Um, so yeah, check it out. Check it out. Check it out. I started my writing process and then I went into publication in 2004, but my writing process began before that. So, what are you doing? That's my question for you today. What are you doing to show up as your true self? Yesterday, I had several people that came onto my page and they told me that my page was on some BS because I wasn't quite doing Blackness the way that they thought I should be doing Blackness. Now, don't ask me what that means because, as far as I'm concerned, we're not a monolith. And so the way I do blackness might not resonate with you, but I'm black. I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm like, mm? I didn't know there was a particular way that we did blackness because I like all of our blackness. Now, I don't connect blackness with ratchetness. I think anybody can be ratchet. I don't connect blackness with ghetto. I think anybody can be ghetto. Ghetto in itself to me is a subculture. Ratchetness is a subculture. I think anybody can be a part of that. Um, so when I think blackness, I think heritage, I think um, liberation, I think freedom from bondage, I think a shared history, um, I think Gullah Geechee, I think um, even the connection to the Pan African movement. So when I think about blackness, those are some things that I think about. I think about the civil rights movement. I think about um, our scholars, our early scholars who were writing about the changes that Black people were going through. Um, I think about the change of Black consciousness, moving from not having any sort of movement, any sort of freedom in this country, to moving toward freedom in this country, either bodily, physically, mentally, socially. So when I think about blackness, those are the terms of things and the kinds of things that I think about. Um, and so again, when someone says to me, you're not doing blackness the way I think blackness looks, then I have to go back and say, well, what do you think blackness is? When you say black, what comes to mind when you say black? Because maybe we have different definitions about what it means to be a black person in America. And then again, the other part of that is Black American experience is definitely not the same as a Black English or Black British experience. And it may have some, I would say, some intersections, right? But it does not necessarily look the same. It doesn't. Same thing with the Black Caribbean experience. I grew up in Miami. So some of my Black American experience is infused with Black Caribbean experience because that was kind of my community. It was formerly enslaved persons, it was Seminole descendants, it was Puerto Ricans, it was um, Cubans who eventually immigrated in, it was Bahamians, it was Jamaicans, it was Haitians. Um, and so it was a melting pot of Blackness and other ethnic experiences mixed in. So that's why I say Blackness and Black people are not a monolith because I grew up with so many different experiences of Blackness that I don't just put us all in one category of thinking and being and doing. And so I hope, my hope this year is that people will expand their Blackness and get to know other people that are also Black, Black American, and all the other parts of Blackness that meld and intersect with each other. As I finish up reading today, we're going to stop at this last book that we have been reading. We paused for February, but we are back for season 15. It is Drama Free. This is what we've been reading on Wednesdays, along with its other counterparts, which we aren't reading today. But I do want you to know what we are reading on Wednesday. So if you want to join us and you have the books and you want to read along, The other book is Set Boundaries, Find Peace. This one is about your personal boundaries, individual boundaries by Nedra Glover Tawwab, Dr. Nedra Glover Tawwab. But today we are reading from her book on family dynamics. So this is a guide to managing unhealthy family relationships. And the section that we're on is ending relationships when other people won't change. I think not only as women, but as people in general, what do we do? How do we end relationships when people will not change? I think this is an important conversation. The section we're reading today is on dealing with guilt after estrangement and reminders for people with difficult family relationships. She says, when I worked with children in the foster care system, even in the worst circumstances, children wanted to be with their families. They wanted to forgive and move forward, even when it wasn't healthy, because it's family. We often feel a deep sense of connection and loyalty toward family despite mistreatment. So when someone decides to sever ties, they know it's likely others won't accept it. Guilt is one of the primary emotions we experience in this situation. This is natural since we live in a society that supports the narrative of blood is thicker than water. Few exceptions are made for those of us who endure trauma or abuse or dysfunction at the hands of family members. Others might assume the person ending the relationship is cold, when in fact that person may be wounded or feel justified, though often conflicted in their decision. Moments that might prompt feelings of guilt after estrangement. Holidays. Why? Because everybody is calling you saying, where are you? Why aren't you here? We really miss your presence. Aren't you going to come? Come on, just give it one more time. Birthdays, same thing. Dreams, having dreams about people that you are estranged from might prompt feelings of guilt after estrangement. Seeing old family photos, thinking about how things used to be, especially if you are estranged from your siblings, right? Looking at old family photos, old family memories of when you were all together or when you all got along, that might prompt feelings of guilt. Anniversaries of deaths and family events. Seeing someone with an ideal family relationship. A lot of people do not want to admit this, but seeing someone who has healthy family relationships can spark within you some envy because you're looking at their relationship and you're saying, man, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. I've had a discussion a couple of times with some people who have um, really close relationships with their mothers. Most of you know, if you've been following me for any length of time, most of you know I don't have a close relationship with my mother. Not because I don't want one, but because my mother deals with mental health issues. And she has chosen to live a life estranged from the rest of the family. Now, has there been interventions attempted? Yes. Has there been clinical interventions attempted and rehab and all these other things? Yes. Has she still done whatever she wanted to do because she's a grown woman? Yes. So when I see people having a really, really good relationship with their mothers, that does bring up some feelings for me. It does make me say, man, I wish that I could have that relationship with my mom in my older years. I had it somewhat growing up, but she was one of those parents that believe in once your child hits 18, they get out of the house. We have a lot of parents like that right about now. I know there's one parent in the news that says, hey, if their children falls on hard times, the girls can come back home, but the sons can't. So you have parents that have that mindset, and my mom was one of them. She was just like, at 18, I'm done raising you all. have a great life, and I hope that you do well. But then you have people that have family dynamics where the parents are there. They understand that they are parenting their children until they are no longer here on the earth. And I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing. So when I see it, I make note of it and I say, hey, what you have with your family, what you have with your parent is a beautiful thing. Cherish it, honor it, respect it, lean into it, and don't take it for granted because everyone around you doesn't have that. All right. Everyone sees circumstances from their own perspective. People who have healthy relationships with their family may find it hard to understand why someone else might choose to sever ties, but no one else can determine how much anyone can or should endure. Good morning. A few reminders for people who are dealing with difficult family relationships. Number one, you are not alone. Even in the best family, there's no such thing as a perfect family. None. Nowhere. None. Now, some of us, you can get close to perfect, but there's no such thing as a perfect family. Number two, you aren't obligated to have relationships with unhealthy people. Say it to yourself today. I am not obligated to have a relationship with an unhealthy person. Number three, you don't have to like every person in your family. That's why we have things called chosen family, right? Those people that we bring into our circle, those people that we connect with that become our chosen family, those people that we want to be around. You don't have to like every person in your family. It would be nice, but it's not always realistic. Number four, you can't create healthy relationships with people who aren't interested in having healthy relationships. Raise your hand if you have tried to reach out to people who don't want to be reached out to. Raise your hand if you have called or emailed or sent letters or sent cards reaching out to people who you never heard back from and they are your family members. Raise your hand. You can't create healthy relationships with people who are not interested in having healthy relationships. So don't beat yourself up over it if they don't respond. Know within yourself, I have done what I could do and what was in my power to make the connection. And then the other thing I'm finding out is eventually some of these people come around. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to open back up to them when they're finally ready to receive you. But if you feel so inclined, you can do that. That's the beauty of this life. You have the right to choose who you grant access to and who you refuse access to. Number five, when you speak your truth, you aren't betraying anyone, you're honoring yourself. Man, this is so big. This is so big. A lot of people are afraid to speak their truth. A lot of people are afraid to speak their true experiences. A lot of people are afraid to say, listen, I am no longer connected with my family because I spent a lot of my time being picked on in my family environment. I spent a lot of my time being talked down to in my family environment. So, no, I'm not going to the cookout. I'm not going to the picnic. I'm not going to the family reunion. I'm not going to the holiday party. I'm not going to any of it because my lived experience inside of this family dynamic has not been good. And I'm sorry if that hurts someone's feelings, but I'm going to honor myself by telling the truth. I'm not betraying you by telling the truth about my experience inside of this family. A lot of people have falling outs when people get ready to write memoirs. I've helped a couple of people in their editing process as a part of my business, I've helped a couple of people walk through that process of writing their memoir, editing their memoir. And we've had to have conversations and say, hey, have you had a conversation with this person before you add this to the book? I understand this is your truth, but make sure you're also trying to have the conversations to resolve whatever that truth was. And sometimes they've said, I haven't really done that. Maybe I need to address it before I write about it. I'm like, yeah, you might want to do that. Now, of course, there are things that maybe that person has gone on, they're no longer in this plane of existence, and you can't really find a resolution for it. But where you can, try to do that. But understand, speaking your truth is not betraying someone else. You are honoring yourself. Number 6, it's okay to be different from other people in your family. But the main thing is, I need you to be okay with being different. There are some people in your family, you may rub them the wrong way by being who you are. But you need to be okay with being different from other people in your family. I had one young lady, we were having a discussion about um, what she was going to college for. And she said to me, she said, I don't want to major in this. I don't want to go this particular route, but everybody in my family is in the medical field in some way, shape, or form. They're either a psychologist or they're a doctor or, they're some kind of specialist, but it's all in the medical field. And I said to her, I said, do you have an interest in any of this, in the science of it? She was like, no. I was like, well, but my family is paying for my college and they're only paying for something in the medical field. Well, you just boxed her in. That's going to be a hard way for her to go. And sure enough, she struggled. She went through the process. She did her 4 years, but she is not in that field. So she has a degree in something because that's what her parents were paying for, but it didn't align with who she actually was and what she actually wanted to do with her life. So, yeah, she has a 4-year degree, but she's not using it. And she was pretty unhappy most of the time she was going and doing the studying in the classes. So, again, think about, are you betraying yourself in order to be a part of the family? Are you doing some engaging in some self betrayal? Lastly, you can create family relationships with people who aren't related to you. You can create family relationships with people who aren't related to you. The writer here says, after years of physical and emotional abuse, my client Jamie ended her relationship with her mother. From friends, she often heard, "You only get one mother." That statement and others like it sent her into a spiral of guilt. She repeatedly questioned if she was doing the right thing. Yet without her mom in her life, she felt more at ease and her days were less chaotic. It might be helpful for Jamie and others who are dealing with a similar issue to say this. I understand that your relationship with your mother might be different from mine. Please don't tell me what's best for me. After much consideration, I decided to end my relationship with my mother because it was the healthiest option for me. I wish the situation were different, but it isn't. It doesn't help when you tell me what I should do. It is perfectly fine to let other people know that it is not okay for them to tell you what to do in your relationships with other people, especially with people who have harmed you. And we're going to dive back in tomorrow to our book on forgiveness, where we have been talking about what it actually means to forgive, and what are some cases where forgiveness is not the actual answer that you need to apply. But we'll get into that tomorrow. When someone chooses to end a relationship with a family member, it's almost never based on one thing, and it is not an easy decision. Often the relationship has ended after many rounds of forgiveness or trying to make it work. When we encounter someone who has decided to let go of a relationship that disturbed their peace and caused them mental or emotional stress, we should offer them grace instead of opinions. Yeah, I used to offer people my opinions, but I've learned to ask, do you want my opinion or do you want my ear? Because those are not the same thing. Do you want my opinion or do you want my ear? If you want my ear, I will listen. I will nod my head. I will give you my inquisitive look. I will be thinking in my mind what I could say if you want a solution, because I am solution oriented. Um, it's called pattern finding. I have a really, um, I'm highly skilled at pattern finding. I'll just say it that way. So sometimes when people are talking, my mind is finding the pattern, and then that it takes that pattern and gives them a solution. It's like an input and an output. But I've learned that everybody is not looking for solutions. Sometimes people are just looking for a listening ear. So I've had to back up and say, hey, do you want my opinion? Do you want some suggestions? Or do you just want an ear? Consider saying this when people ask about your relationship with an estranged family member, because we're in the age where everybody wants the tea. What's tea between you and so, right? You could give these options of response. After many rounds of trying to work through things, I no longer have a relationship with them. Period. End of discussion. I'm unsure how they're doing because we don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. Know that song? You start singing that. Period. End of discussion. This is a touchy subject for me because we don't have a relationship anymore. We don't talk anymore. Period. You may also choose not to be direct on the subject. When asked, how's your mom? How's your sister? How's your cousin? How's your brother? How's your aunt? You could say, they're well, to my knowledge, instead of telling the other person that you no longer talk to them. When you're direct about the relationship, your transparency may spark other questions, such as, well, what happened? Do you think you'll reconnect? Or the other person might share their opinion. I would never stop talking to my such and such. Estrangement is usually not an easy choice. Instead, it is usually necessary. You can share whatever version of the truth you feel most comfortable handling. So if you want to say we don't talk anymore, just understand that people might want to ask further questions. If you just say, I believe they're fine, to my knowledge, that might be the end of the conversation. So we're going to stop there for today. I hope that I have said something today that was helpful in your relationships. If you're not estranged from anyone in your family, bravo. That's a beautiful thing. If you are dealing with estrangement, again, I hope I've given you some helpful tools and tips and things to think about. If you're trying to write a memoir or a tell-all about your family life or your experiences, I want you, as both an author and a publisher and an editor, I want you to consider the legal ramifications around doing so. Make sure you have cleared anything that could be liable, that you could be held liable for. A lot of times when people are writing, they change the names of the characters or they change the name of the place to protect those who are involved, right? Or the person that you're writing about, you don't necessarily mention them by name. So just think about those things if you are considering writing a memoir, an autobiography, a all of that good stuff. All right. Okay. Pastor Ben, if you are still with us, um, I think you can go ahead and click on the link to join us for the talk back today. I'm sure you have some insights that you want to share. And then I'm also going to attempt to drop the link inside of the chat. Let me see here. So hopefully you'll be able to come on in just a moment. Hello. There we go. Good morning. How are you? Good, good, good. I am going to try to drop the link in the chat as well for anyone else who wants to join us. I think we can have up to 3 people at a time talking, or anyone who wants to join us for the conversation part. I am dropping the link. All right, Pastor Ben, what would you like to share with us today from the reading? Mm-hmm. Mm, mm,
But they also want
mm-mm. Oh, okay. Mm, mm. Wow. Mhm.
Christmas.
Wow. Mm, Mhm.
It's sad, but uh,
Mhm.
parenting lasts. It doesn't matter how old that child gets. They're still going to be looking for some type of guidance.
Mhm.
Mine, and with those that have claimed me as their dad, they do. I can't understand how a parent say, "Well, you're 18, you're on your own." Why can't we help them get to where they need to get to? See that's I can't understand a parent that would do that. I really can't. I
Listen.
mean, I know situations where the parent maybe having some type of struggle or something, and they figure, oh, okay, I did the best I can. Now I need to go ahead and deal with these things that I've been carrying all these years, and I can't have you around while I'm doing that. I can
Listen.
understand that.
My parents, I believe my parent understood that number one, she didn't have a lot of supports with raising us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
her first child was at 17, and
Mm-hmm.
when she had me, she was 22, and I was her third child. So by 22, she had three children. Um, she had always like struggled with trying to take care of us because she graduated high school and she had some community college education, but she didn't finish. And so back then, especially when you don't have a whole lot of education, you're not getting the jobs, right, that you really want that could support a family like that. She was doing it as a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
And then later we found out that she was diagnosed with bipolar. So when we turned 18, for her, it was like the Olympics. That in her mind, that was the Olympics. I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
growing up in the hood. She's being the mother and the father, and she is very, very on the harsh side because she's like, I'm raising three kids alone in the hood, and I've got to get them to graduation without death, without drug addiction, without
Mm-hmm.
a child as a teenager because she had been a teen mom. So I got that part. I got those dynamics of why she was so adamant of I've got to get these kids to 18. And it was kind of like she
Mm-hmm.
sat us down and she said to us, you know, number one, she expressed that she never really wanted to be a parent. So yeah, my mom didn't mince words, okay? That's probably where I get it from. She was like, I never wanted to be a parent. Secondly, um, I had some choices to abort you all, and I didn't. So she was just like, y'all are here. I didn't want to be a parent, but y'all are here, and I'm going to make sure that I do whatever I can to the best of my ability to take care of you. And then the third thing she said to us was, and we were like, I don't know, maybe I was like 12 or 13 when she started having these conversations. And she was like, listen, when you all turn 18, that's it. Y'all are getting out. And I'm going to go live my life the way I want to live it. And y'all are not going to find me. And I can't say she lied to us. I cannot say she lied to us. She sat us down and told us how she felt about her life. Now, most people don't get a parent that's that honest. She sat us down and
Right.
told us how she felt
Mm-hmm.
about being a teen mother, a young mother, taking care of three children, getting us to high school, through graduation, turning 18. And that's why she said, once you all turn 18, you're out of my house. And I'm going to go back to living the life I wanted to live before I had kids. So I can't be upset with her about
Mm-hmm.
that. Now I can
No, you can't
wish
be.
for a different kind of parent. I can wish for a different kind of parent all I want, but that's the parent I got. And so I always say, I
Mm-hmm.
thank you for allowing me to come through you. I thank you for allowing me to come through you. Because the other part of what she did was she made sure that whatever it was that we felt we wanted to do, that we got opportunities to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to do art, like I did, if my sister wanted to do dance, if my brother wanted to join the Boy Scouts, like whatever it was that we had a desire to do or we felt moved toward doing as a child, she supported it.
Mm-hmm.
She supported it. And she reached out to our extended family to help support in whatever way they could. And that's why I say I'm thankful for the village that I had. It wasn't just my mom, because I think if it was just her, I probably would be a different person, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I would be a different
Mm-hmm.
person. But because we had a village, because I had uncles and aunts and grandmothers, and it wasn't just all on her to try to raise us, I think that made the difference, rather than just having a singular parent trying to shoulder the load and the burden. And so when I think about the work that I do now with girls, with children, with women, a lot of, again, my life experience helps to inform how I work with young people, how I work with girls who are at risk. I'm like, look, I was considered an at-risk girl just because of the circumstances of my birth, the circumstances of my parentage, and my zip code. When I graduated high school, I was given a key to the city, which I still have. I was given a letter from my county commissioner and my state representative, and I'm trying to find my photo album because I still have those letters that literally say, "Congratulations, you made it."
Mm-hmm.
Like, you survived the ghetto. That's literally what the letters essentially said. Because so many of my peers were being unalived, or they were being killed through drug violence, through gang violence, all of that stuff. So for me to even get to 18 and graduate high school was a miracle coming out of my community. So I get
Mm-hmm.
it. I get it. Um, but I also understand the other side of people looking at you like you are nothing, like you are the stuff underneath their shoe,
Mm-hmm.
and assuming because of your zip code that you're not going to be anything in life. I get that too.
But don't you just love it though? I mean, I know I do. I love it because here's the thing. I know who I am.
Right.
I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of, and I'm one of those that my thing is I can show you better than I can tell you.
Hmm.
I love showing you.
And it goes back and it goes back to the conversation that I started this with, is people coming on my page trying to tell me how to be black. I guarantee you, I got a whole lot of experiences of the range of blackness. I got it. But don't tell me how to be. Don't tell me how to be. You might be surprised at what I know and what I've experienced. Just like earlier this week how the conversation went with on my page about Jasmine Crockett, right? A white supremacist came out and tried to say that she was cosplaying as a gangster. That's what he said. She was cosplaying as a gangster. And all the black people, well, some of the black people on my page were like, we don't care where she came from. She's representing us as a people and she knows what she's talking about. And I was like, yes, yes, go black people. Y'all get it.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all get it. And then
That's
there
my
were other people
response.
that came on my page that misunderstood that we were actually standing up for Jasmine Crockett. And they started cussing me out. I was like, wait a minute.
Could they read?
I was like,
How
wait
could
a
they
minute.
misunderstand it?
I was like, did y'all read the post? We are standing up for her. We're pointing out the hypocrisy of what was said about her. Please go read the post. I literally had to
Mm-hmm.
disable the comments on the post because so many people came in the post like this, just swinging. I'm like, I am so glad that y'all are ready to defend Jasmine, but we not coming against Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
We not coming against Jasmine because again, blackness is not a monolith.
No,
So
it's
what
not.
she went to a private school or she may have grown up middle class. What does that have to do with her blackness?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing because in these people's minds, blackness equals inferiority. It doesn't matter if you grew up in the middle class, the upper class, private school, no school, trailer park, otherwise. In their minds, it equals inferiority. So for him to even try to make that kind of argument that oh she's not black, or basically to say if you're black, your only life experience is gangster.
Now that's funny, because this is one thing I love about them. They always contradict themselves.
Hmm.
See, because she's too ghetto on one hand because she's telling them off.
Right.
But now, but then she's not black enough. She's not black. Okay,
Hmm.
which is it? See, which is it? Yeah, I mean,
And
I
again,
really don't get it.
this is the game they continue to play because they did the same thing with Kamala. They did the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Kamala. It was
Yep.
white
Yep.
supremacists that were going around first talking about she's not black enough.
Mm-hmm.
It was them first. But then on the other side, she was too black because they kept mispronouncing her name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't pronounce that. Like her name was Chandrikia or something, which one is it? And
Mm-hmm.
so people recognize that you're trying to play both sides of the fence. You're trying to over here, you're trying to tell black people how to think. That's essentially what you're trying to do. You're trying to convince black people, oh, don't listen to her because she's not black enough. She's not hood enough. But then you have people that you think are
But you
hood.
but
You have people that you
but
think are
listen, you're supposed
hood
to.
and making caricatures out of them on the other side.
Yeah, but they want you to listen to white people that ain't even black at all. I mean,
And that
come
too.
on.
That
I
too.
mean, they don't realize how much sense they do not make. But here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. People believe them.
Some
They don't
people,
see
yeah.
the foolishness that's going on. Some people believe it. They don't see the foolishness that's going on, the bipolar that's going on there. They fall for it because we got some black folks that, oh, she's not black enough. Oh, Kamala Harris, she's not black, she's Indian. Well, if you actually knew anything, you would know that they are black. They are descendants of black Africans.
Hmm.
one time when she said she was in. Everything I know, I remember her identifying as black. See, but people hear the lies enough and they start falling for them and believing them. And then you got some of our people, they're so willing to be against their own people that they'll just grab and grab anything and run with it. So it's ridiculous.
Well, I know we have gone one stratosphere of this conversation to the next. We started out talking about blackness. We talked about family. We've talked about estrangement from family. Um, I guess my thought that I would leave you with today, when it comes to your family members, make sure, as the writer said, Dr. Tawab, make sure that you are not betraying yourself in order to stay in relationship. I'll put that in quotes, with people. Know who you are, you know. Um, I respect and I honor all parts of my history, the good, the bad, the not so cool, all of my history, all of my experiences are part of what make me me.
Mhm.
I would not be the educator that I am if I didn't have the experiences that I had as a child. I would not be the woman that I am if I had not had the experiences that I've had as a daughter, um, as a niece, as a granddaughter. Those experiences have shaped my understanding of human beingness. I have learned to honor my mother's own story without making her story and her choices about me personally, you know? And so I don't I don't harbor bitterness towards her or resentment towards her. I harbor understanding towards her. And I think that eventually, as you grow into your own adulthood, you start looking at your parents differently. You start looking at their choices differently. Um, and it helps you. It helps to inform your decisions as you grow into your own adulthood. Sometimes we don't understand the decisions that our parents have made about us. But I am thankful that my mother did, um, like I said, she sat us down and had a really mature conversation with us about why she was going to make the choices that she made. And so now that I am in my 40s, I can look back and think, man, when I was 13, right? When I was 13, my mother was 35. So I'm just like, yeah, she was when I was 18, right? Because she had me when she was 22. When I was 18, my mother was 40. So she was ready to say, let me go see what this life is about. And let me go see what this life is like, right? So we don't necessarily have to agree with our parents' decisions, but we can work to understand them. We can work to understand them. All right. Final thoughts.
Mhm.
Final thoughts. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You have any final thoughts? Now I can, yes. Now I can. You're pausing.
Hear about parents, like, okay, they got some saying, and that's what your mom did. But I'm gonna tell you,
Hmm.
that's a lot on. Your mom stuck it out. She stayed there. She was there. Oh, I got to go take care of me. I got to go do what I didn't have a chance. I'm sure she raised y'all in a way that you were prepared.
I can say
You were prepared. And then
she
you,
prepared us for life. Yes.
yes, exactly. So with that, she she did what she was supposed to do. She did really can't say
Hmm.
they're barely around raises you, and then they disappear when.
Yeah. Absolutely. Again, I mean, I wish I had, I wish I had
See, the
latter
honesty.
life
So you
experience. You're breaking up, Pastor Ben, a little bit. Hopefully it will clear once
and
once this broadcast is over. But yeah, I mean, she was there for my wedding. I was 22 when I got married. She was 22 when when she had her third child.
hmm
So I think for me it was being able to see that for her we were a representation of the better part of herself that she was sending out, that she sent out into the world. You know,
hmm
my brother, my sister, and I, we all graduated high school. None of us have had children, before that. None of us also don't have children right now. Um, None of us had been in trouble with the law or anything like that. So people were able to look at what she had done as a mother, as a single mother, to say, wow, you you did what you needed to do. Like you said, you did what you needed to do as a mother. You kept your children out of trouble. You
hmm
made sure they weren't caught up in foolishness. You made sure they didn't get caught up in any gangs. You made sure they didn't get caught up in the whole teen pregnancy boom that was happening during the 90s. There were lots of teen mothers. Um, and so when you look at that, all I can say is thank you.
hmm
Thank you. So again, nobody can make me feel bad about my upbringing. It is what it
hmm
is. It was what it was.
hmm
um, and so, like I said, I honor my history. I honor all parts of my history because I am the person I am today because of what I learned, what I endured, the struggles, seeing my mom struggle and deal with racism in her own life, and yet continue to go on to say, I'm going to make sure that my children are taken care of regardless of what is going on around me. So I know we're
Mm-hmm.
past time, but it's Women's History Month. So I'm honoring women and I'm honoring my history. I want to thank you all for your time and your intentions and your attention. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness. So continue to go out and be what, Pastor? Light. Take care, everyone. Be well, and most importantly, be light. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be well.